I wouldn't be surprised if Simpson, number 18, or Gretzky, 99, got their stick on it. We'll find out here in a minute. As our replay people in the truck.
In this game 4, we're in the second period with a little over 3 minutes remaining in the period. Edmonton has just scored to tie the game at 3-3. And before they got to center ice to face it off, the lights went out at the Boston Garden. And only the emergency lighting is on now, as far as we can tell. And the main lights have not come on here at the Boston Garden. The referee, Denny Morrell, has sent the two teams to their dressing rooms.
And, Bob, they have not opened the Zamboni doors. And I wonder whether they're going to wait to see if they can get the lights back on and then bring the teams back to play the last 3 minutes or more, or whether they're going to add it on to the third period. They certainly are doing nothing to resurface the rink at the moment. And in this hot, steamy Boston Garden, we are at about 20% of the normal lighting. Teams have gone to the dressing room. The referees have gone to their dressing room, and they're trying to find out if they can fix the situation. And I doubt if they could get the Zamboni through the people that are lined up in the corridor where it comes onto the rink.
Our broadcast area is in the dark as well, but we understand with our mobile truck outside the Boston Garden, you are hearing us, but we don't have a picture for you yet, but we're working on that problem, and hopefully we'll have that corrected. Although I can tell you there's not much to see here in the Boston Garden at the moment. We invite you to bear with us. Everything seems to be happening in these playoffs. We had the New Jersey delay that night, that Friday evening, and now here in the Boston Garden in Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final, the lights leave us. The teams have gone to the two dressing rooms. And as Harry mentioned, the Zamboni has not come out. There's a little over 3 minutes remaining in this second period. So we assume that if the lights are fixed, they'll come back on and finish the rest of this period and then have the regular intermission.
Well, there were 3 rather severe thunderstorms in Boston today, and I'm wondering, Bob, whether there's another one going on out there now, and the lightning may have knocked the power out, and who knows how long it would take to remedy that situation. We're sitting here right now watching a very dark Boston Garden, and the Boston Bruins are 23 minutes away from going to Game 5. We're calling it quits for the season.
We have 3 minutes and 23 seconds left in the second period when the lights went out on us.
Well, the Edmonton Oilers are trying to become the 15th team to sweep the final round. 20 teams. They are the 20th team to get in the position to do it and win the finals 4-0. The Islanders did it last in 1983, and they also did it in 1982, as I recall.
We're told now that the power has been affected in the Boston Garden proper only. Now, down under the stands and outside in the concession areas, the lights are fine. In the dressing rooms, they're all fine. In our studio and so on. But right here, in the Boston Garden, in the ice surface area, this is where the problem is. And engineers are working on that problem now, so hopefully they'll have it fixed. And we'll get the remainder of the second period played. 3 minutes and 23 seconds, I think I said. So the goal came at 16:37 of the second period. The goal that tied it. Shot from the blue line. Might have been tipped in front of the net. We haven't had the official announcement. Everything went kaput before they had a chance to make any announcement on the goal or had a chance to face off at center ice.
When you think of it, the Oilers were lucky because if the lights had gone out about 3 seconds earlier, that goal would not have counted, obviously, as the referee would have blown the whistle. Earlier in the season, we did a game from Chicago where they lost the lights for a little bit, but then they came on about 80–85%. The referee went to both benches, asked the coaches, the Leafs were there playing Chicago, asked the coaches if they'd continue the game with not quite 100% light, and they decided they would. But there's no way, Bob, they could do it here. They're at about 20% of the available light.
You've joined us late. The way this game developed, it looked as if the Edmonton Oilers were going to just walk away with it and make a very clean sweep of it in 4 when Anderson scored at 10 seconds of the opening period. Messier and Muni, the fans hadn't had a chance to get seated when Anderson was in, and bang, it was 1-0 Oilers. Then Tikkanen from Gretzky at 15:33 of the first period. Now, at that time, the Edmonton Oilers had a 2-man advantage. Tikkanen got a power play goal and made it 2-0. Young Greg Hallgood, just 19 years old, seeing his first action in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight, made a beautiful move, a move of a veteran, really, when he came in from the blue line, pinching in. When Middleton and Sweeney had passed the puck back, he moved in, waited for a moment, took another couple of steps, and when he saw Fuhr go down, ripped a high shot into the net, and that was the first Boston goal. And then in the second period, Wesley broke away and scored shorthanded, unassisted at 6:12. And the Bruins had a life. For sure, they had a life when Wesley scored another goal, this time at a power play, after just 3 seconds served in the penalty. Wesley, on a face-off in the Edmonton zone, unloaded a shot that got by Fuhr. And now, before the period is out, the Edmonton Oilers get a goal, tie the game at 3.
Well, you know, the Edmonton Oilers are famous for their stats. The record books are full of them. The weekly NHL report is full of them. And on their way to their 4th Stanley Cup, they hope, the real stat appears on their birth certificates, Bob. Listen to these ages, and they've won 3 out of the last 4 available cups and are well on the way to winning their 4th. Gretzky, 27. Fuhr, 25. Messier, 27. Anderson, 27. Curry, 28. Tikkanen, 23. Lowe, 28. Smith, 25. Simpson, 21. I mean, there's no reason that this team won't get a little better. And when you can get better and younger at the same time, the general manager, Glenn Sather, and his great staff all over Canada deserve a lot of credit. That is a very difficult thing to do in any sport at any time, and the Oilers seem to be doing it.
And you know, Sather hasn't sat around too long without making some moves. He's made moves every year, and they've all turned out to be darn good ones.
Well, you know, the Calgary Flames 2 springs ago, when they eliminated the Oilers in 7 games, unknowingly, I think, did the Oilers a favor, and they wouldn't normally want to do that. But they forced Sather, Muckler, and Green into reevaluating their roster, and they've made quite a few changes, as you said, and also reevaluating the style of play that the Oilers should incorporate in order to get by that good Calgary team. And now we see this year, and we certainly saw it last year, you have to say that the best offensive team in the league last year won the Stanley Cup by playing the best defense. And they're 1 period away from perhaps winning another Stanley Cup, and their defensive play has been outstanding, far overshadowing their offensive capabilities.
A goal was scored here in the second period at the Boston Garden at 16:37. So 3:23 remaining in the period, and the lights failed us. The lights, the Boston Garden, you've just tuned in, have gone out. Just in the ice surface area alone. Every place else in this whole building, we're told, is fine. Lighting is okay. But here, in the ice surface area, the lights are out. And we're stalled. The 2 teams have gone to the dressing rooms. The Bruins down to our right, and the Edmonton Oilers across the way. And it appears that the moment they get the lights fixed, Denny Morrell, the referee in charge of this game, is going to bring the teams back out to finish the period, which, as I say, has 3 minutes and 23 seconds left on it, because the Zamboni is not out and is not resurfacing the ice.
Well, I can tell you this, the Boston Bruin dressing room is air-conditioned. But I've been in the visiting room plenty of times, and it isn't. And if you think it's comfortable in the small dressing room that the visitors have at the Garden, where the Oilers are now sitting, 20 sweaty hockey players with a temperature, I'm sure, well up in the 80s and the humidity higher than that, they are not lounging around in comfort in their dressing room. And I'm sure that they won't be too happy to sit there too long. They'd like to get this thing going and get some fresh air and jump on that plane tomorrow at 10 o'clock as they charter back to Edmonton. And I'm sure hoping they can carry the Stanley Cup with them. The Boston Bruins will also charter to Edmonton if there is a 5th game. And Hockey Night in Canada, we'll be there too, Coley, to see it if it happens.
We're talking about Sather and the organization of the Edmonton Oilers a little while ago. I remember talking to Sather earlier in the season when the Oilers weren't really doing what they were accustomed to doing, winning all the games rather handily. They were staggering about and having a tough time. And I remember talking to Sather at one point, and he seemed so very cool and calm about the entire situation. A lot of criticism, of course, from the press and the media as a whole about how the Oilers are finally failing. But his attitude then was, and it sure proved to be right, the right attitude was, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some readjustment for these players to assume a different role and implement more defensive thinking into their game. Boy, has it ever paid off. Boston went in there in the first 2 games in Edmonton and got 12 and 14 shots respectively in the first 2 games. That's not bad from a defensive point of view.
Unbelievable. Their defensive play has been phenomenal, not only this year but last year. And they are one of the few teams, the Islanders could do it and Montreal could do it in their heyday. They could play one way in 80 games and then turn it around and play another way in the playoffs. And we have just been informed that they're going to evacuate this building and get the fans out of it. I don't know whether that means us, Bob, but the fans are now being ushered out onto the streets surrounding the Boston Garden.
Well, the reason for that is there are just about 20 minutes for the auxiliary lighting, and it too will fail. So for a safety point of view, they've decided the fans better go out. It's going to be fun. I hope they have kept the proper part of their tickets to get back in when, in fact, this thing all gets straightened out. Fans will be leaving the building. They're being moved out now. Let's go down to Ron McLean.
Thank you, Bob. There's a lot of confusion, as you might expect, downstairs at the Boston Garden. But one word we're getting is that the officials here at the Garden are telling fans it's over for this evening. And I don't know how much further that's going to go. But the latest word is that they may have to suspend action for this evening because they have a problem in isolating what's causing the delay. Andy, at the officials' room, the NHL people got together. What did they say?
They've been informed that it's going to be a while. They're having trouble locating where the problem is, but it's in the electrical system in the building. It's not in the area, meaning that there's a generator or something gone outside the building. The problem lies within the building.
Now, the Boston Red Sox are playing this evening, and they had to suspend a game at Fenway Park because of high winds. There's no rain. Our studio location here in the Garden is in one of the corners of the building, and we have the back door open right now. There's no rain, no electrical storm outside, but this problem apparently occurred here a month or so ago.
Yes, apparently it did, and they corrected the problem. It was in the wiring in the electricity. Something overheated, and it just took time for them to find it, and once they did, they were able to get things back rolling.
Let me ask you about the fog. I asked you if perhaps the Edmonton Oilers be called for delay of game with them not going out on the ice when Denny Morrell requested. What's the policy there?
Well, we like just the players that are on the ice to move it if they can, rather than have both the benches empty and come on. And by the time they come on and go off again to their benches, it takes a lot longer than really necessary. But we had talked about this, and we thought perhaps if they carried towels of some, moved them as they skated, it would lift it a lot quicker with a lot, accomplish things a lot quicker anyway. They haven't done that tonight, and with the lights going out, it may not be necessary to do that at all.
If they suspend the game and have to pick it up tomorrow, what's the NHL policy, or do you know?
Well, we're going to have a real problem here because the Boston Celtics play Wednesday, Thursday here, and that's why they're not playing tonight, is because of the hockey game. So I don't know. I don't, not aware of those decisions where that lies.
Charlie Huddy is here as well. Charlie, it's good to see you're feeling better. You had a chance to play tonight, but they elected to go with the lineup that's been so successful. What do you know? Have you talked to your teammates?
I haven't talked to them at all. I was just in the room, like watching it on TV, and all of a sudden the power went out, and nobody really knew what happened. And somebody came in our room and said that they were just going to tack the 3 minutes on for the next period. And like you say, a bunch of fans came down and said they told them to leave the building. And looking out the back door, there's a lot of people are leaving right now, so maybe they've made some kind of decision. I'm not sure.
Charlie, how about maybe your view of the game so far. You've had a chance to watch from various seats, so what have you seen, and how about tonight?
Well, the Bruins are playing a great game, and it's, I mean, you know, it's you know, the last game maybe for them, and they're going to come out and play the way they can, and they're doing that. They're skating really well tonight. They're not letting us get very many good shots on net. They're not letting us get into their zone. They're kind of, you know, interfering with them, holding up our guys, and we're not having much luck getting to the net, and hopefully we can get things going if the game does resume.
Just to reiterate, if you're just tuning in now, or you've been phoned and told to tune in because of what remarkably is happening at the Boston Garden this evening, the game has been suspended with the score tied 3-3. The power went out throughout Boston Garden, a facility which was built in 1928. The Bruins opened here in 1929. Their first year in Boston Garden, they won a Stanley Cup. The Edmonton Oilers and the Bruins were engaged in Game 4. Both teams left the ice, and the latest we hear is that fans have been asked to leave the building, and they've been told that it's suspended. Let's go right now to another location here on the lower concourse. Chris Cuthbert was standing by to do post-game interviews if need be. Chris, what do you know?
Well, Ron, just walking through the building, complete confusion down in the concourse level as far as the fans are concerned, because they have been told to go home, yet they're still lining up for concessions, for beers, and the security people are trying to get them to leave the building. Nevertheless, I just spoke with Gary Mahar, and he's just joining us again, and the NHL has the only call in deciding if this game has concluded or not. And Gary, I understand that despite the fact security is sending fans home, the game has not been called yet.
That's exactly right, Chris. For security purposes, the Garden security felt it was in their best interest to clear the building, and that's what they're currently doing. The league has not called the game off at this point. We're still assessing the situation, and John Ziegler and Brian O'Neill are trying to find out exactly what the situation is with the power. I understand it's in the general area, and we're just waiting for word now how long that might be.
Gary Mahar is the NHL Director of Media Information. Right now that meeting's going on. Is there a time frame you're dealing with here?
There's not really. Obviously, the league, we had the situation in Montreal this year with the power failure, and the league wants to get the game played. We're close to the end of the second period, and the game's tied. It's in the players' best interest. It's in the league's best interest. And besides, the Celtics play at home tomorrow night and Thursday night, so it would make difficult scheduling, obviously, if you had to either continue the game or play the game over.
That was my next question. With those two Celtic games, what recourse do you have?
Well, obviously, you can pick the game up. The decision would have to be made on whether you do that or complete the entire game again.
An afternoon game, perhaps?
They would have to be. The Celtics are scheduled to play here tomorrow night and the following night, so it would be, I guess you're looking at the afternoon.
Gary, thanks for joining us. Now back to Rob McLean.
Well, Chris, just to point out, the electrical failure is for a 2-block radius immediately around the Boston Garden, and there are emergency vehicles now coming in and cordoning off the area. The fans, as you know, are filing out of Boston Garden and are heading home. The traffic is vacating the parking lot, so it's an unbelievable scene, to be truthful. Where we're located, we're in the dark. Don Cherry and Charlie Huddy are joining me right now, and we're just sitting, I guess, like everybody else, and wondering what the next step is for the NHL, who now say, for your information, fellows, that they have not suspended the game. And although the fans have been asked to leave for security purposes, they will sit tight and try to get this game in. Don, have you ever seen anything?
Well, it's not like Montreal, because outside all the lights are on, the stars are shining, and you're right, the people are leaving. And it wasn't like in Montreal, you couldn't see a foot in front of your face. But I'll tell you, I was just out in the crowd. It's like an oven out there, and I think that's why they want to get out of the building, because the ice would melt if they didn't. It was just like an oven. And we always run into these things, don't we? I mean, it's Washington in the afternoons, Montreal, something's always happening. And I don't know, Charlie, have you ever been in anything like this?
No, not at all. I've never been involved in anything like this. So I won't, that I can recall is just the Boston-Montreal series, just watching it on TV and end up watching the Washington game.
What really upsets us is that Chris Cuthbert's here tonight, and we can't throw to him somewhere else, so we have no place to go, and Chris has no alibi, but he'll join in from time to time and try to get your reports from the dressing room.
You know, it's a funny thing. I was out in the crowd, and the crowd was hollering at me, Grapes, if it only had to happen 1 minute before, if it just had to happen, why didn't it go 1 minute before? Would have been up 3-2, and it's like baseball, right? It's up 3-2 if it's called on account of the weather or something like that. We're the winners, right, Charlie?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure the fans were a little disappointed. Well, hopefully they'll get everything straightened out and we can get the game going again.
Who do you think this will help? Charlie, the Oilers went flat clearly after the 2-0 lead. Do you think this might be, although they get the goal and that maybe takes the momentum away, but how do you see it affecting the game should they continue?
Well, I think obviously everybody's going to get a bit of a rest and, you know, maybe get things going. I don't think right now that we're skating the way we can. Maybe we'll get our thoughts together in the room right now if it's not a real long layoff here. We can get out there and get back skating again and realize, you know, the position that we're in, that go out and play a good, I guess, 23 minutes now, and, you know, we've got a good chance to win, and hopefully the guys will be able to do that.
How do you feel about not being involved in this game?
Well, I'm watching it in a room. I was up in the crowd for a while, and I couldn't sit up there because it was too hot, plus all the people were yelling, and I couldn't take that, so I went down, and we have a room down here to watch it on TV, and I'll tell you what, it's a lot harder to sit and watch a game than when you're out there playing, you're involved in the play, and you really don't think about all the things that can happen. And just sitting in that room, you know, you just kind of want to get out there and try to do something, and unfortunately, there's nothing you can do.
The 1984 Stanley Cup champion Edmonton Oilers, there are only now 8 players who are with the 88 edition here this evening. And Charlie Huddy, there's only 7 playing because you're out of the lineup by virtue of the injury. Compare the teams, 84 and 88, if you can.
Well, the 8 guys that are here, I guess, are a pretty big part of it with Gretz and Mess and Glenn Anderson and Yari Curry and guys like that. It's a big part of the nucleus, and they're the guys that do a lot of our scoring and do a lot of our offense for us. And I think the guys that are here are, you know, explaining to the guys how much fun it is, all the new guys and Craig Simpson and guys like that who have never even been in the playoffs before. And I think they've caught on. I think the Winnipeg series really helped us. The 2 games we were down 3-0, and we got together as a team and we said, we're going to go through the playoffs. We have to be patient. We have to relax out there. We just can't go out and you know, expect to get 3 goals right away. And I think that series really helped us come together as a team. We all pulled together. We went out and picked away 1 goal at a time, and everything worked out well for us.
The Edmonton Oilers with 3 Stanley Cups. On 2 of the Cup-winning goals, Charlie Huddy drew assists. And Charlie, I'll ask you to stick around, Don Cherry as well. But right now, let's go back over to the location between the Oilers and Boston dressing rooms, where Chris Cuthbert is standing by with Dave Hannon.
Ron, they're not allowing us near the dressing rooms right now, but Dave Hannon, who is watching the game with Charlie Huddy, has joined us. He is anxious to win his first Stanley Cup, but it's been put on hold here. How are you feeling?
Unbelievable. You know, I sat up in the stands in the first period. I know that I came down to watch the game in the room where we've been watching it the last period and a half, and I'm sure glad I wasn't up there because everybody didn't know what was going on, and the fans just started, I guess, throwing some things around our bench and stuff like that, so it's been nice to be down here.
Andy Van Helleman just came from behind that curtain and told me the game still is not called off and that a generator has blown within a couple of blocks from here. Now, they won't let us in, but Dave Hannon, because he's one of the Oilers, was allowed to go back there, and I know you spoke with Jim Gregory briefly.
Yeah, I just talked to him, and he said that they're going to meet again and decide. You know, the players, I'm sure, want to play, you know, especially our team. You want to get this thing finished, hopefully, but, you know, it was a heck of a game until this all happened.
You mentioned Peter Pocklington and Glenn Sather have met. Do you know what they were discussing?
Not really, Chris. I just know that they were summoned by the National Hockey League and the executive to meet with them as soon as possible. So nothing's been called off from what I've heard.
Now, it's a great hockey game. It's 3-3, and this has got to take away any concentration that the teams have had, or at least it will certainly be sidetracking them at the moment. What's going on inside?
I think that the guys, you know, especially our team, it'll give them a chance to get a little rest. You know, Boston played well in the second period until we scored. They had a little bit of momentum going, so I think that'll help us to get a little bit of rest. So hopefully they'll get the power restored and we'll finish the game.
Dave, thanks for joining us. Now, John Muckler is just standing by. John, what can you tell us? What's the latest?
Well, Glenn is meeting with John Ziegler at this present time, and I imagine he'll make some decision immediately.
What's going on in the room? This has to be, well, obviously an unparalleled distraction.
Well, we have light in there. We have a TV camera in there, so we got some light. I don't know how long the bulb is going to last, but everybody's just relaxing and changing their underwear and trying to freshen up, and hopefully we'll get this thing underway.
Have they discussed alternatives? If the game is not played tonight, what are the alternatives that you may be looking at?
Well, I don't know. Some people are talking about maybe playing tomorrow afternoon, or hopefully we can complete it tonight. They've cleared the building. Of course, everybody knows that, I guess, and I don't know how they'll ever get everybody back in again. I have no idea.
Would you mind playing in an empty building?
Well, the crowd certainly was in the game. I mean, after Boston went ahead 3-2, they certainly got hyper, and they got themselves back in the game, and they were quite noisy. We wouldn't mind if we played in an empty building, no.
The first time, if it happened in the way you'd like it, it'd be the first time I think the Cup was ever awarded with nobody watching. But right now, that's premature. Thanks for joining us, John. Now back to Ron McLean.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, gentlemen, for your thoughts. The power here at Boston Garden is backup power and will only last an hour, and that's apparently the reason fans are being asked to leave the building for security purposes, as we previously mentioned. It's a remarkable night at the Boston Garden. 3-3 was the score of the Oilers and the Boston Bruins when this game was suspended because of a power failure affecting a 2-block radius around Boston Garden. Don?
Well, I don't see there will not be anybody in the seats, because as I look out here now, everybody is leaving the Gardens now. They're getting in their cars and they're going home. Now, they might play the game again. We haven't. Charlie Huddy, I just asked Charlie Huddy, go down to the dressing room and find out what's going on, so we won't know, I guess, till he comes back. But there'll be nobody there. The cars are lined up. They're gone. I mean, the people have gone home, and they're not sticking around.
Let me advise you of what we will do on CBC in order to handle this situation. Viewers in Ontario and Eastern Canada will be seeing the national news upcoming in roughly a minute. Viewers in the prairies will be seeing CBC's video hits, and for those in British Columbia, you will have the opportunity to watch local news. So we will have news updates as well as video hits coming up in just a moment. Our coverage on Hockey Night in Canada will continue all night long, and we'll keep you posted as developments warrant. Obviously, we could try and fill, but without pictures, we can't really establishing anything more than we now already know. But as soon as something occurs here at the Boston Garden and they are able to get back either with a completion of Game 4 or make a decision affecting what's going to happen tomorrow and a potential situation where they'd move the series to Edmonton, then we'll have that for you here on Hockey Night in Canada. John Ziegler is meeting with the coaches as we speak, and hopefully we'll be able to give you developments within the coming hour. It was 3-3 when the game was suspended. For now, on behalf of all of us here at Boston Garden, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you soon.